Hi everyone, welcome to episode 75 of Wool and Spinning. My name is Rachel and I can be found pretty much everywhere as well for pearls. Thank you so much for joining me in this place. If you're a new viewer, thank you so much for checking out the show and for checking out what I do over here. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back and for checking out the show again. For those who are Patreon subscribers, thank you especially to you guys. You're the ones that keep the show on the air week after week, month after month, and I want to thank you so much for being here. This is the first week of the month, and I just want to have a little tiny bit of housekeeping that I need to cover with you guys. Everything that was supposed to be mailed out in June has gone. So those who are expecting packages and envelopes from me, please watch your mailboxes. We have Tour de Fleece going on in the group right now. Please head over if you're interested in joining our Tour de Fleece team. It is open. Anybody can join at any time. We have a Slack channel that is open to everybody that you can join if you prefer mobile. And of course, if you don't want to use the mobile Slack channel, please just join in the Ravelry group. There is a thread, and I will link to that in the show notes at wellforpearls.com/episode 75.
It depends on how much you can pull down at once, right? And you're continually adding fibers to it. And really good experienced spinners will do it with one hand. You know, they'll use the one hand to draft it down and almost to the, I'm going to put it a little bit
How is everybody? I am recording on a Monday afternoon of the long weekend. We just got back from Victoria this morning, Victoria, British Columbia, which is our capital. And we didn't go to any Canada Day celebrations. It was Canada's 150th this year. We felt like with the kids and the crowds and everything, it was just going to be too crazy. So we decided to stay home at the campsite and hang out with family. My brother and sister-in-law came up with their kids and we spent the day with them, and we had seen them throughout the week because I was actually in Victoria for a reason. I was there for ANWIG, which is the North Association of Northwest Weavers Guilds. So our guild here in Langley is a part of that, and I was able to go. I was sponsored by my guild to be able to take one of the big 3-day pre-conference workshops, and it was exhausting and the days were long, but it was awesome. My instructor Gail was really great, and we had a lot of fun through the 3 days. The nice thing about it was a really small class. We only had 3 in our class, and so for 3 days we got to ask tons of questions. We kind of got to know each other a little bit and started chatting about things and sharing our spinning stories and our history, and so it was really fun. The course that I took, it was on ancient fibres, so we were exploring the Bast fibres. I'm hoping that a lot of what I learned in the class will come through on coming episodes of the podcast as I explore more deeply the things that Gail talked about and the things that Gail showed us. One of the things that I really noticed about a lot of the fibres that she was showing us was how great they are for braiding. They tend to lend themselves really well to weaving. She's really left me with a few questions about some of the things that I would like to explore in the future about my own spinning and what I would like to look at in terms of the fibers that I spin. Obviously, I love wool and I always will, and it's something that I always come back to in terms of spinning, but it's definitely opened up some other thoughts and some other things for me to think about in terms of what I want to be spinning, and expanding my spinning repertoire more than anything, as well as exploring some of the things that we do for dyeing, because we actually did dyeing as part of the class, and that was really fun. And it was going back to some dyeing that I had done a few years ago and have largely sort of just thought, no, that's not really for me. I don't really like that kind of dyeing. But the colors that we were getting were really awesome. And that was really neat to see that, stepping outside my comfort zone and not just using the acid dyes, which of course is what I have been mostly using in my dyeing, as well as lots of natural dyeing. And of course the Bast fibers take the natural dyes very beautifully. But there's also dyes on the market called Procyon, and they were especially formulated for the cellulose fibers like cotton, linen, etc. So that was really fun to play with those. We also did some discharge dyeing. I have a whole bunch of samples and some things to share with you, but we haven't completely unpacked yet, and I didn't want to rip apart all of my stuff just to pull out the samples to chat about for a couple minutes. So I thought we'd save that for next episode, episode 76, when we do the live streaming. And you guys can ask me questions about the class and about things that I learned, and I can probably shed some more light on that. Throughout the course, we were doing some sampling. So this is sort of an example of the little sampling packs that we made. And there's multiple, this one was one of the last ones that we worked on, and it was a multiple mixes of different fibers. Sorry for shaking the camera. Different mixes of things that you will see on the market. Tussa and linen, which is actually flax. So tussa and flax, merino tussa silk, merino flax and silk, merino silk and ramie, and merino bleached flax. So there's like these different blends that we were spinning on the last day in the afternoon of some of the commercial blends that you'll find on the market. So a couple of these are from World of Wool, a couple of them are from Australia. So that was sort of what we did in the class, and we worked through all these different samples. And then she also gave us quite a good size, and I'm about halfway through spinning it now, quite a big strick of flax. She had given us some dew-retted flax, so it has that sort of grayish color, which I might have that mixed up. It might be water-retted, and it's the gray color. I can't remember. My notes are in the other room. Anyways, we had the grayish color, and I'm about halfway through my strick, and I've been spinning it a few different ways just to play around with some different ways of spinning, checking my twist, making sure that I have enough. I think one of my biggest takeaways from this class was how much twist you need. That was something that I wasn't prepared for. I was sort of expecting her to say that you need a moderate to even low amount of twist because the fibers are so long. And that wasn't the case at all. She had us putting quite significant amounts of twist into our spinning. And when we were doing our plyback tests and our when we were pulling our fibers off of our bobbins, she was saying to one of the other participants, "Nope, you got to add more twist. Nope, you got to add more twist." And that was something that I hadn't expected. So that was neat to see. And I think I had reflected on a very similar thing back when I was spinning some cashmere after Fibres West, that I was surprised at how much twist some of these fibers need. And I think that's something as spinners that, wool, we can get away with very low twist yarns because we can fold them afterwards as long as they're not superwash. And a lot of these other fibers, they need the twist to hold together and to wear well, to be woven. The Gail is a weaver herself, and so she talked a lot about using these fibers in weaving and weaving singles as warp and weft in and using your flax, which of course becomes linen, and what that looks like. So really interesting stuff. There was a big marketplace at Anwig, and I didn't take any classes over the weekend. I didn't take anything on the Saturday or the Sunday. I knew by the end of the 3 days I would be totally fried, and I knew that I would really want to spend some time with our family because, like I said, our part of our family lives over there. So I did go to the marketplace on Friday, and I didn't go back. I did one pass through the entire marketplace, and that was it. I only bought a few things, and I thought I would share them with you because normally I don't share with you what I buy at festivals, mostly because I don't want this to turn into a show and tell of what I buy. But I thought that I would show you today because I did only buy Bast fibres or ancient fibres. I didn't buy any wool, although my friend Katrina did give me my birthday present, which was really sweet of her, and I'll show that to you. From Chaotic Fibres, which is a company based in Victoria, chaoticfibres.com, and they do spell fibres with the R-E-S, the English way. I bought some cotton. I did buy a total of 100 grams of this. So this is one 50 gram bundle, and I did get another 50 grams. And I'm looking forward to playing with that. Taproot, which is taprootfiberlab.ca. And again, they spell it the English way. So F-I-B-R-E, lab.ca. Let me change my focus of my camera here and I'll show you guys. I bought some short line linen from their booth. I bought actually a total of 200 grams of this. So I bought 2 of these. And the reason for that was because I wanted to have, sorry for the interruption, the kids are tired and hungry and I've got dinner in the oven, so we're going to eat soon. I bought 200 grams of this because I was hoping that with enough I could actually generate enough, quite a bit of yardage, put it with the stuff that I had bought, that I had from the class, and work with this. So Taproot is actually a new company, and I'm hoping to talk to Jenny and bring her onto the show for Wool and Spinning Radio this fall. They are a new processor for flax, and they are based in Nova Scotia. Which is part of the Maritimes in Canada, so on the far eastern seaboard, so about as far away from BC as you can get. She was a wealth of information and had lots and lots to share with me and lots to talk about. Her and I could have stood there and talked for hours. One of the things that we talked a lot about was sustainability and how to get hand spinners more comfortable with spinning flax and some of the things that we can do. So her and I were chatting about that for quite a long time. You can get long line flax. So for those who are flax spinners and know about spinning flax, you can get long line flax from them. You just have to contact them directly and say you're a hand spinner and they will send it to you. Their machines currently are doing short line so that they can process it into yarn. And currently they can't process long line flax into yarn. They can only do the short line. So you can get long line as a hand spinner, and I'm actually going to order some from them and I'll keep you guys posted about that. But in the meantime, I thought I'd buy some of their short line and get going with it and get more comfortable spinning flax because it is quite different. So and one of the nice things about spinning it for 3 days with Gail as our guide and our help during the 3-day class is that now I sort of have an idea of how I want to spin it, which is kind of great. So I did buy that from Taproot, and like I said, I'm hoping to bring Jenny onto the show in the fall. And the last thing that I bought was also from Chaotic Fibres. I bought some hemp top. So this is 100 grams. It was $10 Canadian, and it's quite soft to touch and quite luxurious. And I thought that I would buy some because in the class we had an opportunity to spin some hemp, but it was very, very coarse, and it was not then cultivated, some of the softer cultivated stuff that you can buy. And so Gail had said to us, if you can find some nice stuff, do buy it. It's just wonderful to spin. So I thought, so when I saw this from Chaotic Fibres and Sharon showed me a couple of the different based fibers that they do carry, and I thought that I would pick some of that up. So like I said, I didn't buy very much. I really kept it to a minimum. Because I wanted a few things to bring home, but I didn't want to bring home a ton. And I've got a lot of wool in my stash. I've got a lot of things to spin, and I just haven't had a chance yet. So I will be doing that. Oh, this got, sorry for the crinkling. It got sawdust on it. So this was my birthday present from Katrina. Thank you again, Katrina. You can tell that this is one of my favorite colors. Oh, I've got bast fiber all over me now. Oh, that's hilarious. This is one of her new colorways. This is also a new base of hers. This is a Targhee bamboo silk base. It's these gorgeous blues, browns, and gray. This color in here, I just can't get enough of it. She named it Pasuda, which is a shipwreck off of Guayhanas up on the coast of British Columbia. What was what was named the Queen Charlotte Islands is now the original name again, the indigenous name, which is Guayana. So this was the colorway that she came up with. It's absolutely beautiful, and she gifted that to me yesterday evening when we were setting down, so that was really kind of her to think of me for my birthday. So that was Anwig. I have lots more to share with you. Like I said, I have a lot more to talk about in terms of the Anwig itself and the class, and I'm hoping that all of the information I came away with, that I'll be able to share it with you in the coming months on the podcast as I get into spinning. For Tour de Fleece, I really didn't know what I wanted to make for my goals before we left. I was really torn. Tour de Fleece started 3 days ago, started on July 1st. There's many things going on in the Ravelry group, like I said, and I was sort of torn about what I wanted to do. So my new goal is actually to just spin every day, and I'm hoping that I can get through the rest of that strick that I got in the class of flax, finish that, and then make a decision about how I want to spin that other 200 grams and start, because I would like to keep spinning the Bast fibres for a little while, just to really fine-tune my skill. Because in the class, recently on the podcast, if you've been following for a while, I have been talking a lot about hand dominance and wanting to switch over to drafting with my right hand instead of my left hand for more control. And the interesting thing was that by the middle of the morning on the first day, I actually had to switch over. So I traditionally spin with my right hand holding my fiber and my left hand drafting forward if I'm doing inchworm, and if I'm doing short backward, then my right hand drafts back like this. And my right hand isn't really doing a lot of work, which is sort of too bad, because my right hand has a lot more fine motor. I can feel a lot more in my right hand, and I found within the first couple of hours of the class I actually had to switch over. So my left hand became my fiber supply hand, and my right hand became my drafting hand. And we were doing mostly short backward draft over about a 12-inch span. And I had to switch over because we were wet spinning as well. So we were dipping our fingers into water, and then we were smoothing as we went. And I found that my right hand I needed the control of my right hand doing that work. So I'm hoping that over the course of Tour de Fleece, by spinning the Bast fibers for the next couple of weeks, that over time my right hand will become more comfortable, and I can become more, there'll be a natural progression to just continue spinning that way. I'm also borrowing my friend Kim's wheel for the next few weeks. It's a Magic Susie, and the nice thing with that is you can put the orifice of the wheel on whichever side you're spinning on. So I'm hoping by putting it on the left that it'll get me used to spinning on the left and get me used to working on the left. And then when I go to long draw, I'll move the orifice of the wheel to the other side to the right and spin long draw that way. So I'm just going to play around with that and see what I think, because I'm quite intrigued by that wheel because of being able to switch the orifice sides. All right, so that was that about hand dominance. I'm not going to talk about that anymore today because I can go on and on and on about it. I have a couple of finished objects to share with you, and I was going to show you my speckled dyed socks first, but I think I'll show you these ones first. These are my strawberry season. I cast these on after last show, so you actually haven't seen these in progress unless you follow me on Instagram. I started them on Thursday night 2 weeks ago. No, a week and a half ago, almost 2 weeks ago. So when you're watching this, it'll be 2 weeks ago when you see this. And I didn't have anything on my needles, and I needed something for work. And so I cast them on. I knit this sock within the first couple of nights of my night shift, and then I finished this one off on our trip. So this was Strawberry Season. It's a Sweet Georgia Yarns colorway that was from July of 2014. It was a club colorway, and it was actually the first colorway that I ever received in club, which was kind of neat. So I've been kind of saving the yarn. So one of the first things I ever spun from Sweet Georgia. And I've been kind of coveting the yarn and not really knowing what to do with it. And I was worried that my stripes would be all over the place because it was my very first chain plied yarn. This sock is really interesting because this sock is actually slightly thicker and the yarn was a little bit squishier. And then as I got into this skein, this is actually a little bit thinner and knit up at a slightly finer gauge. They feel the same on my feet and they're totally wearable, but really interesting for hand knit socks that I, for my very first hand knit socks that I've ever made. The very first sock yarn that I had ever made. And they turned out really well, and I'm looking forward to wearing these in the fall. I used the Fish Lips Kiss Heel. It was kind of my standard. They were super fast to knit. It was my standard 52 stitches, 2.25 millimeter needles. Nothing special, but really fun yarn to knit because I found that the stripes kept me going. So I kept wanting to knit a little bit more to get to the next stripe. So I have talked about these ad nauseum on the podcast. They are officially finished. These are my speckle dyed. They're superwash wool. I speckle dyed them myself. The interesting thing about these socks is that the speckles turned into very gentle striping. So all of this stuff in here was originally speckles on the original braid of fiber that I dyed. And I've shown you lots and lots of pictures of what this fiber originally looked like. So I encourage you to go back into other episodes if you're interested in learning more. And of course, you can always look on my Ravelry Handspun page because all the information is there. I did start a new pair of socks while we were gone. I also started a sweater while we were gone, but it's not out of Handspun. It's actually out of Modern Cotton by Barocco. And I'm just doing a tank top that I've wanted to knit for 2 years, and I am just now casting it on, but that's okay. So this was Into the World, this yarn. It was a colorway that Completely Twisted and Arbitrary did. This was a traditional 3-ply. I'll put it a little bit closer and you guys can see what it looks like there. Lots and lots of marling. It was a traditional 3-ply that I did. And the colorway was called Eating Grapes Off Wallpaper. And I had 370 yards, 110 grams. And actually this was one of the few spins that I did on my Hanson mini spinner. So there you go. This yarn, I actually had quite a bit left over on one of the bobbins. And I ended up chain plying the last little bit, and I really regretted not chain plying this entire thing. After I saw it, I didn't like the traditional 3-ply as much as I liked the chain ply, and I think that's why it took me so long to work with the yarn, because oops, wrong way, sorry guys. So that's the sock there. That's the beginning of it. But the chain ply is just incredible. Like the yarn in the chain ply was just awesome. And I have used a little bit of it up in my memory squares blanket. But they'll be nice socks when they're finished. They're just not the chain ply was definitely just really pretty. So that those are my sort of take along project for the next little while, and I'll work on them when I can. Now that we're home and we're home for a couple weeks, and we've got a few things going on. James is turning 5. We've got some birthdays coming up. My mom has a big birthday coming up as well. So I'm not sure how much knitting I'm going to get done, but they'll be my take along projects for when I start. I've got straight nights towards the end of the month. So I'll get lots done when I work those night shifts. I've also been working on this BFL. It's on my Bosworth spindle. I'm not going to talk about this too much. I was spinning this on Katrina's husband's test spindles, and I gave them back for him to fine tune. And I've been spinning a little bit away on those. This colorway is one that my friend Charlotte did. And it's just, I just really love these colors. It's blues and greens and yellows, and she just kind of poured the dye on, and oh, it's just beautiful. Anyway, she gifted it to me and said that I could have the fiber, and I am just slowly spinning away. I may or may not transfer it onto a wheel. In fact, I probably will, because I'm just really curious to see what this yarn is going to look like spun and plied, and I actually have a plan for it, so I'd like to get it done. I actually bought a couple of braids when I finished teaching at the studio last week, to spin and knit Mike another pair of socks, because he wrecked his last pair of socks. And so if you see in the background there's a braid hanging right, the one that's right there, that one. He's going to get new socks, and that's in the Stillwater colorway. And I'm hoping that I can get those done for him this summer, so it'll give him a new pair of socks for the fall. So I have a couple of things that I'm hoping to work on, but I'm not going to put a lot of pressure on myself. And Tour de Fleece, I'll get done what I get done. I'm looking forward to just being able to spin along with everybody, and I'm hoping to get into the Slack channel this week and catch up with everyone, and just regroup after being gone for a week and having a little bit of time off. So I hope that this all finds you well. I hope you're spinning up lots. I will keep you posted on how trying out the Susie, the Magic Craft Susie goes, because I'm going to play with that this weekend. And I hope that it is sunny and you're enjoying the weather wherever you are. And if it's the middle of the winter, if you're down under or in the southern hemisphere, I hope you're not too cold and too chilly. We're boiling up here. And until next time, happy spinning, everyone. Bye.